This is 8.1 Part B. We're going to use the distance and the midpoint formula to figure out how to write an equation for the perpendicular bisector of the line segment joining those two coordinates together. But before we try to accomplish this problem, I want to explain to you what a perpendicular bisector is. So for instance, let's say we just have this line, this blue line, and there's an equation, and of course it would be some sort of equation like this. When you have a perpendicular bisector, what you basically have is a line of a different equation that bisects it, and it forms a right triangle here. You know that this equation, which will also be in the form of this, the only difference is that it will be an entirely different equation, but the slopes will be perpendicular reciprocals of each other. So now, to accomplish getting this equation or this problem done, the first step you're going to do is finding the midpoint of A to B. And the midpoint, we learned already, we're going to take the x's, 3 plus 7, and divide by 2. And the y's, so 8 plus 14, and divide by 2. So the midpoint is going to be 10 divided by 2, and 22 divided by 2, which we then can simplify to 5 over 11. And what we're going to do with this midpoint is we're going to use it later on in the problem. Okay, number 2. We're going to calculate the slope of the AB. So we're going to calculate the slope of this line, meaning the line of this blue, the slope of that. So remember, the slope is taking your y's and subtracting them. And I'm just going to write this in so you remember what the equation for slope is. Okay, so we have our y2, which is 14, our y1 is 8, and our x2 is 7, and our x1 is 3. And if we simplify this, we have 6 over 4, which we want to reduce to 3 over 2. So the slope of that blue line is 3 over 2. Now, to find the slope of the perpendicular bisector, we're going to take the slope that we just found, and we're going to flip it, and we're going to change the sign. So now it becomes negative 2/3. So we're going to use this, and we're going to use this to figure out the equation of the perpendicular line segment. Because this is the midpoint, which would be this point right here, and we know the slope. So we can figure out, by using this point slope form, what the equation is by plugging in these values. So we're going to say y minus y1, which is 11, and the slope is negative 2/3, x, and then minus the x1, which is 5. And we're going to simplify this. So first thing I want to do is I want to use distributive property. So this is going to be negative 2/3 x, and we have positive 10 over 3. And then all we have to do is add 11 to both sides. So our new equation will be all of this and what we want to do is add like terms. So these two things need to be added together. You can do that in the calculator. And I would suggest, because you're going to get some decimals for these, I would just leave it as a fraction form. So when you plug this in the calculator, you're going to push math enter when you're done. And your final equation would be negative 2/3 x plus 43 over 3. So that is the equation that is the perpendicular bisector of the equation for these 2 points. Okay, now I want you to try one on your own, doing all of the steps that I just showed you. And what I want you to do is we're going to do this in class and see how you did. Now, the only way that you're going to know how to do this is if you practice. And the only way you're going to learn if you have it right is by actually doing it and checking your work in the next day. So if you leave this blank, then you're really not trying at all to succeed in the class. So I hope you're at least putting some effort towards this.